Bickley and Marana Mornings. Arizona Sports. The local sports leader. Bickley Blast.
There have been a few gut punches in the Diamondbacks' highly enjoyable breakout season. A couple of them have come from the Braves, like yesterday, a game that felt eerily similar to that awful Sunday in Chase Field not that long ago. But at the very least, the Diamondbacks left Atlanta with a clear answer. What they need is not Shohei Ohtani, a transcendent superstar who might be traded in the coming weeks, although I certainly wouldn't be averse to such a unicorn. But what the Diamondbacks need is bullpen help as soon as possible. And once again, you hope the arrival of Mat Ishbia and his generous spending habits will shame and or encourage the rest of our owners to spend their money. That includes Michael Bidwill, who seems to be cutting corners in recent years, and that includes Ken Kendrick, whose Diamondbacks rank among the worst funded outfits in baseball. This is the time for the Diamondbacks to step up and give this team a fighting chance, a better chance. Remember, a bad bullpen can ruin absolutely everything. It can ruin morale. It can ruin a manager's reputation, and Torey Lovullo deserves better than that. So, by the way, does the rest of the clubhouse, and so does a fan base that badly wants to believe in the 2023 Diamondbacks. All right, today's Bickley Blast brought to you by my great friends at Chapman BMW, who make luxury attainable. Find them online at chapmanbmw.com.
I mean, you do worry. If we continue to play like that in Toronto, you think, we've said, Mike and I have been on the record over and over saying how aggressive we're going to be. Are we still going to be that aggressive? If you finish a road trip 0-9, if you finish 1-8, 2-7, you have to go, okay, we could still buy, but how far do you go? Do you go for the rental, or do you buy someone that's also going to be under control for a couple of years? Well, if we get back to our winning ways, and it seems like we are, that we're clawing our way back to who we were, you are going to continue with that mindset of being much more aggressive.
That's the voice of Derek Hall talking about the upcoming trade deadline. When I talk about the manager and the bullpen, this is to me, it's a very interesting subject as it relates to this current team, because Torey Lovullo is a fascinating case study in Major League Baseball. Torey Lovullo has been with the Diamondbacks since 2016. Okay, he is 7 years into his gig. He is the seventh longest tenure in Major League Baseball. Of the top seven, he's the only manager with a losing record. Terry Francona, Kevin Cash, Craig Counsell, Scott Service, Dave Roberts, Brian Snitker, all above him on the list of the longest tenured managers. So what I'm here to say is that the way you get managerial tenure, you got to have some winning seasons, maybe a bunch of them. And Torey Lovullo has hung on here because he's a really good manager, and the Diamondbacks know it, and they've kept him around throughout this process. You don't want a bad bullpen bringing what you've got here and now down. And you could apply that to Torey Lovullo and his reputation, because when bullpens go bad, generally it's hung on the manager. Because that's part of what a manager has to do. It's fundamental to the job. Manage a bullpen. Make sure you have fresh guys at all times. Make sure you use the right guys at the right times. Make sure you have a hierarchy and an order. Well, we know there's no hierarchy because it's been basically bullpen by committee, and at times it's worked and at times it hasn't worked. And the fact that Miguel Castro can look as good as he did and then as bad as he did yesterday, the fact that Kevin Ginkel can look as good as he did in Game 1 of the Braves series, then almost melt down in Game 2 of it, I think this is something you got to address.
That's worse than having consistently bad pitchers. When you have up and down inconsistent pitchers, because you never know who you can trust. And it makes managing very tough. Like you said, you could criticize Lovullo for how he handled the bullpen yesterday, but the day before, that very pitcher came through for you. So who knows? That's frustrating.
It's been weird, too, because what we've come to know in Arizona pre-Lovullo, pre-Hazen was that closer. Like, this franchise is almost certainly, you go back to the Iceman, Matt Manti at the very start, BK Kim, one of the greatest, if not the greatest closer they've ever had, Jose Valverde, JJ Putz, Brad Ziegler. Like, they've always had this guy that you can rely on, and you, one, know who it is, and two, then you can rely on them more often than not. And ever since this era of closer by committee or just looking for a certain guy The closest we got was like the Fernando Rodney year where it went really well, but that went south eventually in rather explosive, dramatic fashion. Michael Bay would have been jealous of that scene after the fact. You remember the Brad Boxberger era? We've been at this for quite a while now. And look, the thing that I think kind of gets lost in this conversation is they tried to fix this. They tried to pay Mark Melancon, and that did not go well in the slightest. Like, I don't know when he's coming back, and even if he does come back, obviously his track record is not inspiring to give you any sort of confidence that he can be the guy. So I think that we're at this point now where, yes, they tried with him, but they need to try again. And of all the bullpen help, what they need, a guy for the 7th, a guy for the 8th, they just need a guy for the 9th. And I think they need to start there because you cannot go into playoff games with a 2-1, 3-2 lead, or the other way around. Be down 2-1, be down 3-2, and know there's a great chance that you're going to be either having to make up runs or lose your lead.
Or going into that 8th or 9th inning hoping you pick the right guy. And that is why some of the best teams have always had the established setup guy and then the established closer, because the hierarchy and the consistency creates confidence. And it creates a sense of, okay, we know what's next. That's the thing with this baseball team. You're never quite certain what's next. So that's one of the lessons to come out of this series, and I do think that it's going to have to be addressed. Because for those first 2 games in Atlanta, the Diamondbacks did show you there's a really good team in there.
Even yesterday. They were 6 out ways from winning the game, winning the series, sweeping versus the best team in the National League.
Right. Listen, and you take a look at the rotation. What I see in the rotation right now, we know Zach Gallen is nails, right? We know Merrill Kelly is coming back very soon, and we know that he is very, very reliable. Ryan Nelson's been very, very good for a little bit here. So I'm believing in him a little bit. Tommy Henry's been better, more good than bad. And now Brandon Pfaadt is going to get another shot. Ooh. And I hope this
third shot Pfaadt, they call him. But that's it, though.
Is that what they call him, Ferret? Third shot Pfaadt?
I get that. He's been very disappointing in the majors for this guy who's supposed to be a can't-miss prospect.
Yes.
He's sort of teetering on the edge of, a quadruple A player where he's too good for the minors but not quite ready for the majors yet.
Yeah, on ArizonaSports.com, Alex Weiner and I went back and forth and outlined essentially the entire starting rotation, what it looks like, who they could trade for, if there are any other prospects that could come up besides Brandon Pfaadt, because if Brandon Pfaadt lays an egg again, you got to go, is there any other arm down there that you want to consider outside of him? So we outlined the entire situation, and basically to return the conversation to where it started, I couldn't help but think during that Ginkel situation, I was like, are they really about to ruin this Ryan Nelson outing? And imagine if that comes up in a postseason situation. Like if Ryan Nelson or Tommy Henry get the ball and they give you 6 or 7 great innings and then the bullpen squanders it, like that's how you lose playoff series in your season's end. You cannot get in that situation.
You're exactly right.
It's going to be an interesting rest of the season to see for the D-backs. And one way to see them is to come celebrate 25 years of D-backs baseball with your favorite Arizona sports host as the D-backs take on the St. Louis Cardinals on July 26th. Just text half to 620-620 to purchase 2 lower-level tickets for only $25. That's half to 620-620.
Good job, Ferret.